Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, coming to you with a new episode. This week we are talking a little bit about, we're going to go into some things that are currently going on with the current climate, talking about COVID-19, of course, but it's interesting to see what's happening in our space and distribution logistics area on how companies are kind of dealing with this and also pivoting to utilize some resources in a different way. So today we're actually going to talk to the CEO of Locix, who is Vikram Pavate. He's going to talk to us about how Locix uses their indoor positioning system and how now they're kind of seeing the potential for it and how we can kind of use it outside of just distribution centers and that type of facility and use it for the greater good of kind of helping in situations like we're currently in. So Vic, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on. How are you doing? And you guys are out in California, right? So how's everything going out there?
Well, it's nice and sunny outside, but we have to, we have shelter in place. So we're kind of hanging out inside the house with kids running around and, everyone doing things from working from home.
Yeah. A little bit of an adjustment, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about, so we've talked to Locix before on the show about what you guys do and what you provide for the distribution space and things of that nature. So why don't you give us just a little brief interview for maybe people that haven't heard those episodes yet, just like a brief description of what Locix does and what your technology is all about.
Great. So Locix has developed spatial intelligence solutions to increase operational visibility, to enable our customers to increase productivity and efficiency in the specifically in the logistics and the factory automation markets. And two products that we have now released and commercialized are related to one of them I think has been featured before, called Smart Dock, where we use cameras on the inside and the outside to increase of a dock in a distribution center to increase the dock level efficiency.
Right.
And then more recently, in October, we launched a local positioning system. So there's GPS for tracking, product and people and phones and everything that you can imagine on the outside. But there's never really been a technology that has been successfully deployed for accurate, cost-effective, scalable indoor location. And so that product we refer to as Smart LPS, and that is used on, specifically to track assets inside of a logistics facility, like a distribution center.
Right.
So it can be used on workers, forklifts, and other kinds of assets.
Definitely. So I think, my understanding, I guess, of Locix and kind of the original mission, right, was to work with these logistics companies and give them more visibility to what's happening in their facility and kind of capture that movement data as well to make adjustments and, kind of efficiently improve and optimize based off that kind of data that's being tracked through all the movements, and then also just knowing where things are in the current time as well, right? So, now that we are in our current climate, we're seeing kind of how certain things and certain businesses are, I guess, pivoting a little bit and being able to kind of use what they would normally use for something else in a different way to kind of help in the current situation. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about how this whole concept of indoor positioning can help from a safety and wellness standpoint. How can that help facilities and different companies to kind of maintain that safe environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, within the logistics space, by the way, we continue to expand our solution for distribution centers. Even in this environment, we have a bunch of deployments going on. But in addition to that, for safety and wellness, as the team kind of took a step back and said, okay, what else can we do with our technology in these, really difficult times? Mm-hmm. And one application that kind of stood out is the ability for us to locate people inside an indoor facility and to a large extent know exactly where they passed by each other or how close they were in terms of separation distance. So that's enabled by the fact that we are essentially a Wi-Fi based technology, and so every building in the world has Wi-Fi.
Right.
And then we can track people and other things inside a building, within a specific accuracy of 3 feet. And so if you kind of take an assumption that people are supposed to be at least 6 feet away, I can tell you with 90% or with a very high level of confidence over a given in a given space, where exactly people were and who they interacted with. So now, while this might sound like Big Brother, and of course I understand that I don't want to be tracked all the time, right. But there are certain kinds of situations, like for example, there's in environments where most probably you want to be able to, maybe on an anonymized basis or in other kinds of ways, you want to be able to know who did I come in contact with, and if I can trace that back to maybe an incident or a situation where I may need to take some action because then at least I'm informed that I was exposed to something or I should have been away from something. So that's one application I think that we are, we think that'll be, that has to be done carefully. And of course, without this whole violating people's privacy, maybe it's an app-based application with opt-in and not just, just randomly tracking people.
Yeah.
But so that's so we call that'd be, I think, a really good one for safety. The other one is in hospitals. This is an application that we were thinking of working on in the future. And as we look at the chaos that for the right reasons, I mean, people are just really stressed out, and we're looking for assets. We're looking for to give you an example, I mean, there's let's say in the past, we would look for a diffusion pump in a hospital, and people would make sure they had their own version. Now you have, even more life, assets are even more important for saving lives, and you want to know exactly where they are, what their status is, who's using it, and when does it get available, or if someone has misplaced something, you can find that within seconds and very accurately. So, so hospitals is an application that we think and also nurses too, right? I mean, nurses, doctors, assets. It's the same things that we have deployed in the logistics space, and to some extent, because it's Wi-Fi, the standardization in hospitals is already available. So, this could be something that we should be able to take advantage of and help people.
Definitely. And, going back to what you're talking about in terms of tracking people, I think that's even just inside of an indoor facility, just like inside, your company, for example, like if I have a distribution center and, obviously a lot of distribution is still happening because, we're trying to get goods to the people that need them, essential goods in most places now. So, there is potential there, obviously, for something like that's going on right now for, somebody to test positive or something that's been within the facility and been in range. So I think, thinking about what you're saying, I mean, I think it's really good for a company to be able to have that opportunity to see, where was that person within the time. So, instead of creating, I guess, mass panic and just telling everybody that, there was somebody that's tested positive, now, you can kind of look and see like, okay, maybe, only certain areas this person was in. So really there only should be maybe some concern there. But I think that, from a company standpoint, by doing that and being able to do that type of thing, you really become more of like a, I guess, socially responsible company, because you can start to pinpoint things like that. And I think that's a big deal. So I'm really, really happy to hear that you guys are using technology like that.
Yeah, and Kevin, just to give you an idea, we have an actual deployment at a customer site where we're just essentially tracking worker productivity and asset tracking like forklifts. And over the last week, we actually repurposed our algorithms to actually notify us when people came within the physical proximity of each other, within a meter or within 2 meters. And the data is just really interesting, because I can tell you, within a given day, how many people actually came within that physical proximity. Yeah. And, if this was, if this was a enforced 6 feet social distancing, algorithm, the whole place would be red. I mean, you would be being notified, how many people actually come close to each other. And we just don't, distribution centers, hospitals, they're all factories, they're all operational facilities where there's so much stress in terms of getting things done on time. Right. And you're always behind schedule. So people, tend to drift. It's just the way it is, that people, may not do exactly what they're supposed to do. And it's not a negative. It's just that, look, you can improve things. So I think that's the part that because we had the time this week to run that, analyze the data. Interestingly, we were running it for forklift and people's safety, in the sense, how many times does a forklift come really close to a person, and then we just took the algorithm and applied it to people. And so that was very interesting.
Definitely, yeah. And I would say, I work as a distribution manager as well, and we're still operating. We have an essential product, and it is very difficult to maintain the social distancing when you're there working in the facility and trying to get things done with people. And people have questions, and you have to work with a computer or a handheld gun or something like that. It's very, very difficult to keep that distance. So, kind of being able to create that awareness through your technology, like you were just talking about, I think that's huge, because you can look at different ways to try and distance people as well. I know a lot of distribution centers are trying to tackle that issue of how do we still have these people in here, but keep them distant, so you can kind of see where maybe that closeness is really concentrating, and then work on how do you make that area maybe a little more socially distancing friendly, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and the layouts of the facilities. I mean, we, at least here in San Francisco, I mean, the people are looking at how can we lay out the retail store in such a way that people actually don't have to literally pass each other in trying to get to product. And the same logic could be used, but for that they need to know how close do people, where do people go and how close they are. And in a lot of logistics facilities now, especially the ones that we work in, the aisles are like a meter wide. In fact, one of the facilities is 90 centimeters wide. So you can imagine, 2 people going into that place. Definitely, there's no chance of separation. So I think there's a whole variety of space utilization. And what we found is, and this is the other part that's really interesting, which is applicable now to all kinds of environments. I can actually tell you how much of your space is being utilized at a given time. And maybe, you might want to back off on some of your cost accounting and, the metrics that you have used traditionally, that, dollars per meter per hour kind of, analytics for distance traveled. And you might want to space out a few things. And that way there could be a new design parameter for a facility that I think will be welcomed by, distribution center workers, that, hey, I know that I'm not just being pushed to get as much product out of the to pick as much product as that needs to be that needs to be done, but maybe I can more effectively position some, the low frequency or maybe medium frequency products to the side and let people go and pick that up. So the space utilization becomes important. And if you were using more traditional location technology, you would be saying, well, somewhere in 5 meters, 10 meters, it should be fine. Now I can tell you within tens of centimeters what effect you can have. So that I think is going to be, and by the way, this is also applicable to building commercial buildings too. I mean, right now we are literally everywhere in the world. We have gone to a WeWork kind of model, right? I mean, people come into work and they have shared desks. They have lockers behind them, and we have a similar setup at Locix. And I was thinking to myself, when we go back to work, we clearly can't use that setup anymore. So, what we would have to do is separate people and also track people who, where did they sit, what happened at that particular place. Maybe there's more, so a very different type of safety and wellness parameters that will now influence, work environments, across the board and for the right reasons. And so, and then if you look at the analytics in our office, 50% of the space is never used. So I'm like, well, maybe we take this conference room, convert that into an office space. We change this. So I think for that, the metrics that we provide in terms of indoor location will be very helpful, even if it's not like literally tracking who came in contact with someone, but just for other reasons to be able to improve the safety and wellness for employees.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing that you point out because, I think now too with, everybody, so many people working from home as well, I think, it really kind of is going to make a lot of companies, like you said, look at just the way things are laid out and, think about, is this really the right way to do things? So it's really interesting that you guys can provide the technology for those types of office spaces too, and that tracking, and you can see, maybe even I'm thinking even like, this person is, positioned in this corner of the office, but they're traveling to this other side of the office like so many times a day, like why we should make their office closer to that position, right? So really, really smart stuff. So is there anything else that we should know about Locix and what you guys are up to?
No, I think, this idea that, as you can imagine, these are difficult times and also gives us a focal point. I mean, the exciting part about, that, and I think this is mostly relevant for practically all the people I'm talking to. Everyone's thinking on how they can contribute. And these ideas that I described to you, not a single one of them came from me. They came from people in the company. And so literally, this morning, the VP of engineering, he says, I've been running this test at this customer site for the last 2 weeks. And I got this data about how close these guys are getting. And so, that's the part that I think is really interesting, is that these kinds of innovations that, like you said, like applying a technology that was built for logistics in something else, it's coming, the people are innovating and thinking. And to that extent, that's kind of been a refreshing change from everything else that's been going around us.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think, to your point, if there's anything that comes out of this, I think that we have all, for the most part, kind of thought about how can we do things differently. And in a lot of cases, I think, we're looking at doing things a little more efficiently as well, because, we're pivoting just businesses, even, just the idea of figuring out how to get food to people without contact even more easily. I mean, we're going to be changing so many different things and shifting. And so it's really great that you guys are kind of having this culture of innovation and, allowing your employees to be able to think in this way. So I definitely want to give you kudos and appreciate that you guys are doing that, especially, for just the greater good of everybody, not just the logistics space. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us on the show. Well, how can people find out more information about Locix?
So we have a website, locix.com, and there's different information about our products, about solutions, things that we are doing. And there's also different places where people can actually send and contact us through that website.
Okay, great. We'll post all that information on the newwarehouse.com as well. So Vic, thank you again for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.